Now we're going to take a look at Minga hall passes. Within Minga, hall passes can be given to students. They layer on top of the ID so that wherever the student goes, they can show that they have permission to be there. And also staff members monitoring hallways can see a list at all times of all active hall passes. And there are controls that can be put in place to limit who can have hall passes when. Now, hall passes within Minga can be given out in two different ways. The first way we're going to look at is what we're all used to, which is the teacher-given hall passes. But Minga also has the functionality for you to give students the permission to create their own hall passes. These can be limited to just a couple of different types, and the time limit is always limited by your overall Minga admin rules. Now, I'll talk you through the workflows for these, but the purpose of student-created hall passes really is to make that workflow within the classroom much more streamlined and minimize the interruption to classes. So to start with, we're going to take a look at teacher-created hall passes. Now, the first thing you're going to do is go to Teacher Tools. Within Teacher Tools, you'll see the second section here. You'll only see this if you as teachers and staff members have been given permission to give out hall passes. If you don't see this, just reach out to your Minga administrator for them to give you those permissions. To give an ID out, you'll see two different options. The first is just to scan an ID if a student has their phone in front of them with their barcode, and the other is to search for the user. If we click here, we can search by name, or we can filter by group or grade, or even upload a full list of students by student number or email address to be automatically added as a group to a hall pass. In this case, I'm just going to filter by a couple of different grades. I'm going to select search, and then I can select all, or I can choose individuals. I'm going to hit add, and now we can see all these students have been assigned, and I can choose which hall pass I want to give out and for how long. I can select a custom duration with the ellipses and type that in here. I can choose to start the passes right now, and this will send those passes out and give all those students a push notification right now that the pass is active. I can also choose to schedule this for later. I can choose a date and a time for these to go live. Maybe this would be helpful if you know an entire group of students need to leave class early for a certain reason, like going to athletics practice or whatever the case may be. So right now, I'm just going to hit start passes. I can see those hall passes have been created. So now those students have those hall passes on their active IDs. We can also view those via the View Active Passes shortcut. So from the home page, I'm going to go back to Teacher Tools and View Active Passes. Here we can see all those passes that I've started, as well as filter by any that have expired and any that have been scheduled for future. If I go back to active, we can see how long these are running for, what the active time is, and you can choose to end a pass early for a student if they get back earlier than planned. If you hit end, we can select yes, end pass. And then if we want to view those ended passes, we can go status and look at the expired status. Here we can also see who ended the pass. So if you're sending a student from one place to another and you want to see which teacher ended the pass, that will show up here. For the most part though, hall passes don't need to be ended manually. They are activated and they run for the scheduled period of time and then they expire. They will flash red for 3 minutes when they have expired, so that student has warning that they've not been back in the selected time, and that also flashes up on this main home feed for anybody monitoring that that pass has expired. Once it's expired, it goes then into the expired filter right here. You're also able to filter by the different types of passes that have been given out up the top here. Now let's go and see what it looks like when a hall pass is active on a student's ID. I'm going to come out of Hall Pass Manager. I'm going to go back into Teacher Tools, and I'm going to go to ID Dashboard so I can view the student's ID. I'm going to search for Flynn at the top here. I'm going to click View ID. Now we can see Flynn's sticker, and we can also see the hall pass. We can see the time that's left remaining, who started the hall pass, and what the usage is. So this is how it shows up for a student on their hall pass. Now let's take a look at what it looks like when a student creates their own hall pass. Now let's take a look at Minga from a student's perspective. On the left here, we can see that they have student tools instead of teacher tools. They can choose to view their ID, just like this, or they can choose to create a hall pass. Now we can see their options are more limited. They have restroom and fountain in this example, but your school can decide which options are available to students, and your school will decide what the default time limit is for all students. In this example, I'm going to select fountain and hit start pass. Now it's going to pull up the ID, and we can see that the fountain pass is active and it's counting down. Now, best practices for the workflow within a classroom for student-created hall passes should still be that the student requests permission to leave, they get given verbal permission, and then they can go ahead and create their hall pass. They could even show it to you on their phone before they leave, or you can just have up the view active passes on your desktop. Once the student's been given verbal permission and they've activated their hall pass, they're then free to go with or without their device. If they don't have their device, the hall pass monitors in the hallways at the bathrooms can simply check on their device if need be.